Greetings, everyone. Welcome to Hearthcenter, your Tuesday evening show, bringing you a recap of the week that has been for THL. I am your stream operator and one of your hosts for tonight, Lotus Knight, and I am joined by some of the greatest casts THL can have. I mean, it's quite an incredible night here. We have Okay, so starting in the top left corner, he's been here the whole season. The one and only Super Chicken. He has told me very secretive information that his current favorite card is Lightning Bloom.
So true.
How are you doing, Chicken?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks.
No worries. Thank you for being here as always. Right below you, I believe he was here exactly the last show, maybe two before if I'm doing my math wrong because there was a double week, but we have Wild Nine joining us tonight. How are you doing, Wild Nine, the person here whose favorite card is Murloc War Leader?
Man, these cards. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I can't complain. Are you excited to recap some of the matches we're going to be having soon?
Yeah, definitely. We've had some really good matches in the first 2 weeks, so it'll be good to go over some.
Oh yeah. With his, I believe it's his HC debut for the season, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a little bit, but we have the one and only Mojo Powell here in the top right, and his favorite card is Shadowcrafter Scabs. Am I right, Mojo?
That's quite good. I actually finally got Shadowcrafter Scabs this week. I haven't been able to play Rogue at all until this week, so
nice. See, I sometimes get one of them, or well, not most of them, definitely not most of them, but I'm trying.
no, that was good.
And lastly, we have a very special guest tonight. I am forced to say he is my favorite Zylfs, contractually obligated, and I apologize to Coles. But the one and only head of content, whose favorite card is, of course, the Swine Tusk Shank. We have Donde here.
Wow, that one that hits a little too hard
Right?
on me there, but that's that's a good pick. I'm so happy to be back. This is awesome. I've been watching the show, and like I said when we were talking before, I've missed being on here. I haven't been on the show with anybody here except for you, Lotus. So I'm definitely looking forward to being back here.
Right? It's been a while. When was your last season here?
Oh man, it's been at least 2 seasons now. Because you took over here full time this season, I believe, or this past season, and then Ron before that. So yeah, it might even be like a full year, full calendar year. But time is a little bit shaky right now. So who knows? Maybe it was just yesterday, for all I know.
Right. I don't think time works linearly in a pandemic, but yeah. That being said, I think we have quite the show for everyone tonight. I hope you're all as excited as I am for everything that's coming in. We are going to start with Player of the Week. And our first Player of the Week is going to be Hero. Donnie, why don't you tell us who is our Hero Player of the Week?
Why don't I do that? I have the show notes up. Where is that?
It's in the first page.
It is in the first page. I was on somehow the third page. I was like, weird.
Okay, oh, it always happens.
So our hero player of the week is one of our co-anchors tonight, Wild Nine. Took a clutch win last week in a narrow 13-12 contest with APM Yin at Diamond ×2. Needed to bounce back after a rough week one and pulled out this tight victory on the back of his win. So congrats to Wild Nine.
Yay.
Congrats, Wild Nine, on Player of the Week. How does it feel?
Good, great. It was good to. I haven't played in Hero for a few seasons, so it's my first win of the season. So
nice.
It's good to get that out of the way.
Right? The earlier you can get back into winning, the better it is.
For sure.
That being said, Mojo, do you want to tell us who is our legacy Player of the Week?
Absolutely. Our legacy player of the week is Azuma from Defiance. And if you're being a newcomer in THL, can be tough. Being a newcomer on the defending legacy champs, well, if your name is Azuma, it's a walk in the park. Showing no sign of hesitation, Azuma has gotten off to a fantastic start, especially this past week, taking a 3-0 victory over their opponent and securing another week for Defiance, as we look forward to the coming weeks.
Mm-hmm. Always nice to see just breakout performances from new players. Our final player of the week, Chicken, do you want to give us a bird presentation of who it is?
Yeah, for sure. So with our pro player of the week, we have the nice Jewish owl. With this series on the line, NJO stepped up as an emergency sub for F2L. Only one outcome would give F2L the victory over EAW and a sweep, and that is the exact outcome NJO put together. With a 3-0 sweep over his opponent, NJO gave F2L an extremely close and hard-fought victory in Week 2. Congrats to Milo.
Great showing from the players of the week. Congratulations as always to Wild9, Azuma, and Nice Jewish Owl for their performance. That said, everyone ready for us to hop in to talk about Maniac Monday? So we do have a caster for Maniac Monday here, so I'm just going to ask Chicken, what happened yesterday?
Yeah, Maniac Monday was super fun to cast. It was my first time casting any sort of wild content. And I'm definitely a bit of a wild noob. So I got my friend Turtle to come on with me and help me out a bit. But yeah, it was an insanely stacked Maniac Monday. I mean, you had people like 6J, Lasagna, Rice Bowl, Hyperin, Otters. I mean, tons of other people. Like just an insanely strong Maniac Monday. With OT Zexia taking first in the finals over Tiger Eye.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and OT Zexia actually went 6-0 in game score, I believe,
Wow.
which is just insane. And I mean, insane when you think about it, but from watching his play, it's not really surprising. Just some incredibly clean play throughout the entire tournament. So yeah, congrats to him.
Yeah, congratulations to OT Zexia. I just have a question here. You told me the tournament was done in an hour. That actually true?
Yeah, I think, I might be a little off on my estimation, but yeah, I think it was like right around 9 p.m. when we wrapped up the finals yesterday. It was insane, just like tons of aggro mirrors and also people just playing really quickly in general. Um, it was just really, really fast games.
Nice. Well, I guess fast wild action it was. Um Anyone has any final comments on Maniac Monday before we hop into our first series?
I don't know much about the current wild meta, but Priest had a 38% win rate last night, so I think it's great.
Fair. Fair. I'm always going to support a good old delete priest comment because just at one point they're going to do it. I hope. Um, that said, why don't we hop into Hero Series where we get to start talking about some of the action that happened last 2 weeks. So to kick us off with Teal Conference, what happened this week to Teal Wild9? What changed?
Yeah, we have make a 5C out of a molehill at the top there with 42 points. You see, you're starting to get some spread, I guess, in the top 3 teams versus the bottom couple teams. Everyone's obviously still in it because we're still very early, but you got No Pros here with 36 points in the second place, the Unknown with 34, APM Yang with 29, Booty Bay Yacht Club with 27, Hordy on Main with 21, and Korak City on the bottom there with 19.
Nice. Yeah, I apologize for the small technical difficulties. For some reason, it didn't update the image when I brought it live, but I did fix it. Now, I have a question here is do you expect this effect that you talked about, where you said that Hero kind of has three teams breaking off from the rest? Is this something you kind of expected from Hero? Has it been a trend in the past from your experience, or not really? It varies a lot.
I think that in Hero, especially with the current meta, it can feel like it can't feel swingy. So
Sure.
my feeling is like, it's still pretty early, and so you never know still, but I do think like I at least preseason had, make a 5C out of a Molehill as kind of like the dark horse, even though they were last year's champion. Um, but they replaced Molestar, right? So a
Yeah.
lot of people weren't really picking them to necessarily be in the top four here. So I mean, I thought that they're still very strong, and so far it's working out. So I don't know.
Fair.
I do think like this is reflecting a little bit of what people were thinking about. Like I don't see any huge surprises or huge like upsets or anything like that. So maybe
Sure.
we'll see this continue.
For sure. Sure. Meanwhile, to tell us how Purple Conference is going, Mojo, do you want to give us a quick update on Purple?
Yeah, totally. Purple Conference is really interesting. The Golden Wisps are sort of running away with it. 43 points for Golden Wisps in first, followed by F2L Black with 34 points, APM Yin with 31, and then after the top three, there's another decently large jump to at Diamond, 24 points. Team at Any Cost coming in fifth with 23, Dad Legend sixth with 21, and LeBran is currently in seventh with 15 points.
Nice. Strong beginning in Purple for the Golden Wisps, which we were talking about the differences between the Golden Wisp in Hero and Legacy, but we will get there. Why don't we hop into our first Hero match? We're going to start talking about The Unknown versus Hordy on main. Donde, do you want to go over that match?
Absolutely. So the Unknown took the match 16-10 over Hordy on main, giving the Unknown a 2-0 record on the season and dropping Hordy down to 0-2. And as you can see, Molestar, who we just talked about his previous team a few moments ago, just can't stay away from Hero no matter how hard he tries. Did get a sweep over Mr. Python in the 1 seed, as did Chewy in the 3 over Jaspine, and a 3-2 win for Jim Philos over Bite-Sized AC were all the wins that the Unknown needed. However, Hordy did pick up a few key points with ABC winning over Magnificent and Dr. Bombi over Thalfix. Dr. Bombi's looking pretty good in all series this season so far. So, this team, I think Hordy on main will bounce back a little bit. And Geranium's teams tend to continue to do well throughout the course of the season, though this Unknown team is looking very, very strong right now, especially if Jim Philos, who is 2-0 right now, can continue playing as well as he is in the 5 seed there.
Right. A very strong showing from the Unknown here. I'll call on Mojo. Do you have any thoughts on this match? Anything you want to comment here?
Yeah, the Unknown is really cool because when you look at their match scores so far, like almost all of the players on the Unknown are 1-1, which means that they've won both weeks, which means that like they're picking up slack when their teammates are losing. Like
That's
they're not
true.
all winning at the same time or all losing at the same time, which
True.
is obviously really beneficial.
Fair? Yeah, that's actually a really interesting point. I think it's always nice when you see a team that kind of everyone carries everyone and they end up doing well together, more than one player shining and outdoing everyone else. Really good showing by the Unknown though. Anyone has any other comments on the Unknown versus Hordy on main before we move on to our second match of the night?
I was going to say that both these teams really like Warrior.
That's
which
true.
is interesting.
Wait, yeah. Why is there so much? Why is there so much Warrior?
I promise you, Warrior's not that popular in here. I mean, it's popular because people are playing it, but not 9 out of 10 popular.
Yeah, I'm looking at the other like matches in Hero right now. There's like 1 to 3 Warriors max per match.
Yeah. I mean,
So
maybe
interesting little pocket meta here.
maybe they figured something out we haven't yet. I mean, Quest Warrior is decent, I guess. I would say Quest Warrior is okay, but it's arguable. I know the love for Quest Warrior varies a lot.
I wonder if it was a read that they both had of each other, but it was just very interesting. They all had this read.
This amount of warriors is equal to the entire amount of warriors brought by the Purple Conference.
Wow.
It's hilarious.
Wow. Now, as we hop into our second match, Well9, why don't you tell us about APM Yin versus at Diamond at Diamond? This was a lot closer of a match.
Yeah, so I get to talk about my own team here at Diamond at Diamond. They take it in a very close series, 13-12 against APM Yin. Um, at Diamond and Diamond came in 0-1 and APM Yin came in 1-0, right? So they're now evened up, but you can see by points still APM Yin is quite a bit ahead, actually, 31 points to 24. You have the top three seeds for at Diamond winnings, 3-1, 3-2, and 3-1. And then you had an emergency sub for Diamond there. So G-Kick was playing and got an 0-3 loss there, and then a 1-3 loss to Snipe Hunter in the 4 and 5 seeds. So these two teams are very interesting. I think that right now in the Purple Conference, the middle couple teams fighting for the 3-4 playoff spots there it's kind of a bit of a bloodbath. Everyone's very close, and everyone can kind of win it at any point in time. I think you see it in this match too, with how close things are. These two teams are kind of like weird, so there's three on APM Yin, three J Rich, Trido, and Snipe Hunter are all rookies in Hero at least, right? I think that they're all their
Sure.
first seasons in Hero. And so you're getting really good results from the 4 and 5 right now. And then J Rich probably still hasn't found his first win
Yeah.
yet there. And then conversely on at Diamond, Super Buckles, I think, is the rookie there. And so he's 0-2 so far. So you kind of have this interesting, people are the first couple weeks, especially with the holiday too, right? And then the meta
Yeah.
shifting. It'll be interesting. I think that there's still this transition period where people are getting used to the closed format and to the hero format too. So I think it's going to come down, I think, to some of these key seeds to see how they rebound or if they continue to do well too in the future for their teams.
For sure. Chicken, any thoughts on APM Yin versus at Diamond at Diamond?
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by J Rich struggling early in the season. I think I expected him to have a better record going in.
Yeah.
Other than that though, I think most of these matches are maybe what I would have expected. Maybe G Kick versus Trito was like more one-sided than I would have thought. Being the only sweep in that series. I think G Kick's a pretty solid player, so I was
For
surprised to
sure.
see Trito get the sweep there. But other than that, I think it's kind of what I would have expected. I honestly kind of expected Wild9 to be 2-0 at right now. But I guess, coming back to a format that you haven't played in a bit, there's maybe a bit of rust to shake off. But I
That's
think,
true.
yeah, I think Wild9 getting his win there was, you know, something you would like that was bound to happen at some point.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I think Turtle and JR Jokerlaw's match being so close as well makes a lot of sense. I think they're two players that are, fairly evenly matched.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. To add to that, J Rich played base Dink last week and then always just in time this week. So those are tough opponents, right? Too. So yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
I mean, THL 1 seed right now is at a pretty strong level, I would say. Does anyone else have any comments on this match, on anything we said right now? Any further comments before we hop into our third match of the night? Okay, our final hero match is the crossover match in Hero. And we have make a 5 seed out of a Molehole versus Dad Legend. And to tell us about this, well, I think we can call it a bloodbath here, is Super Chicken. What happened here?
Yeah, I guess it was a little bit. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It was a 4-1 in match wins over Dad Legend for my team. I don't. I actually don't remember the order that we played in at all. So sorry about that. But yeah, I remember. I mean, CMAX. Our only loss, which was CMAC, was pretty close as well. He felt like he didn't play as well as he could have in some of the games, especially I think the Fel DH mirror,
Mm-hmm.
which ended up happening. He didn't feel great about that. So I mean, that also could have
Sure.
gone the other way. But yeah, I think it was a really clean week by us. Um, I think we all felt pretty good about our prep despite the balance changes coming in fairly recently.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think Kitten has been the biggest surprise for me
Mm-hmm.
so far. Just been like super solid, taking down like a 200 PR opponent for the second week in a row,
That's
which
true.
is crazy.
That's true.
Um, yeah, I mean, I think, well, I mean, sorry, I'm talking about my own team so much, but I do
Oh,
think,
no worries.
I do think our lower seeds are just like criminally under PR'd, and that's why we're having so much success.
Mm-hmm. A lot of hero and legacy teams have succeeded by exploiting PR differences. As I'm sure Donde knows a lot of stories when I say this. Any thoughts, Donde, on making a 5 seed out of a Molehole versus Dad Legend?
Yeah, I guess I don't think this says as much about Dad Legend as it appears. Dad Legend, we know season in season out they are competitive, and
Definitely.
they may be 0-2 out of the gate here, but to write them off completely would be a mistake. If you look at the AOS over there, they've had a tough two first matches, including this being a cross conference match. Obviously, this is going to be a great team. Mohole, that
Mm-hmm.
is going to be a great team this season. So, tough draw for Dad Legend. Starlax is off to a great start, but we know Cord and Yellow Dart and Risen won't stay winless forever. So they'll catch back up, get Dad Legend back in line, and it's going to be tough to peg them as a guaranteed playoff team just with the amount of quality teams in the Purple Conference, but they'll be in the hunt going forward here. I think I'm confident that they'll come back from this.
For sure.
Yeah, they played F2 All Black in the first week, and they're also doing really well. And they were really competitive with them too. Dad Legend, I mean, right? And then, I mean, they're dads. They got holidays and Christmas and New Year, so totally understandable.
Fair. Are they all dads? Because I know it's not always the case.
I
I
don't know if
was in
they're
that
all
team.
dads, but a couple of them definitely are.
They are 100% dads. I can confirm that.
All right, there you go.
Nice. I didn't know Risen. I knew the rest were, yes.
Yes, yeah. Riz and I also previously teammates in pro. We've had dad chats, so I can confirm Risen is definitely dad.
Nice.
This also might end up being the or one of the big game hunter performances of the season, with you kidding me beating Risen. That's like 150 plus
That's
PR
fair.
difference between the two.
I think it was actually a bigger PR difference last week, believe it or not, with Kitten's first week, which is just absurd.
That's a really quick start, just going 1-2, beating two 5 seeds that shouldn't really be a 5 seed. Especially Risen should not be a 5 seed. I'm sure we're all in agreement here.
Yeah, definitely.
It's also interesting because it's both of them brought the same classes.
That's true. It was a mirror. But they didn't ban the same, which is always cool. I love when I see that. Like, each of them figured their own lineup, and it's a different line. It's not the quote-unquote most common lineup. Does anyone have any final thoughts on Hero Series as a whole before we move into Legacy? Awesome. So we're going to hop into Legacy Gold, and to bring us what is happening in Legacy Gold, we have Wild9 telling us what happened this week. What changed here?
Yeah. The biggest I don't know if the surprise, I guess. I mean, Pod People's always been around. They've been a mainstay here, and they're obviously a great team. But they are crushing it right now with 44 points at the very top of the table.
Mm-hmm.
Defiance is second with 35. Clown Student Academy 34. Not too many surprises there. And then you have 26 for Destubs and 4 teams tied with 21. And I think the biggest surprise probably is Agent P's Golden Showers there at 21. A pick for a lot of like them and Clown Student Academy. I think preseason were picks to be the biggest forces in this gold conference. So for them to
For sure.
be down in the, I mean, tied for 21 is a little bit surprising.
For sure. When I took the screenshot, I was looking at it and I was thinking, how are 4 teams at the exact same score, including
Yeah.
a team that has a win already?
Yeah. I mean, the Golden Shower team has played both Device and Clown Student Academy, so 2 pretty strong teams. I know our match was pretty close. It came down to 1 match as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Some people like I know Ridiculous Hat is, was campaigning for his team to be higher in the power rankings and stuff like that, because obviously they've done really well. And then some people are like, well, you need to play some of the better teams in the conference first and things like that. But
Sure.
obviously you play whoever's in front of you, and they've been crushing it. So
That's true. That is true.
it's not like they played slouches either. They played to
No.
Stubbs, who's in 4th right now. So I mean,
Yeah. Also, I wouldn't even go as far as to say, with the current level of competition, I don't know how many teams would count as slouches.
right. It's just, I mean, it's insane because they swept the first week, and then the second week they were 4 out of 5, right? So that's just a ridiculously hot start
That's true.
for their teams.
True. Now, Wild9, tell me a little bit about the match your team had, the reigning champions Defiance facing team Not Justin.
Yeah, so this again another close one for us. We were coming in after beating Agent Golden Showers the week before, not Justin without a win, but again a close match in their first week as well. So this was also a 3-2 in terms of match score, I guess. Win 16-11. And it came down to the final match, I believe, as well. So it was
Mm-hmm.
tied up, and then it was the 5 seed match that was the decider, actually. So, but the first
Interesting.
2 seeds, Not Justin wins on a 3-2. So Not Justin getting the first 2, and then the bottom 3 seeds there, seeds 3, 4, and 5. Defiance gets wins in those positions, 3-1, 3-2, and 3-0. So right now, I mean, I think like it's interesting. These 2 teams, they're kind of opposite mirrors of each other. Like, it just happens
Yeah,
that way where our me and Classy Thug, we haven't performed particularly well in the first 2 weeks, but Mr. Beluga and Automated Button are doing great. And then the art for Defias, the 3 seeds here, 3, 4, and 5 are doing really well. And Not just in their 3, 4, 5 seeds are struggling. So we're kind of in a mirror so far in the first couple weeks. Yeah, maybe it's just adjusting to what's been going on. I think a lot of it was, I think that in the first 2 seeds too, you could kind of see both of those matches going either way. Mr. Beluga is a great
sure,
player, Automated Button as
sure,
well. And so I think what's interesting is, Azuma's a rookie, and so far he's, gotten 2 wins in very different fashions. I think week 1 he had to reverse sweep, and this one he got a sweep, which is great. And so I think you're seeing, and then Ben's been doing great. Nebkanak has been doing great too. I think
for sure.
he swept last week, so he's only got 1 game loss so far in the first 2 weeks.
Interesting. Now, Mojo, tell me a little bit about what you see in this match. Any thoughts on what Wild9 said, or on Defiance versus Not Justin in general?
No, I think this is a big win for Defiance just because it sets them above the pack in gold, right? Like the pack of gold conference is at 21 points exactly, like Not
Yeah,
Justin and like the 2 teams we're about to talk about. So I think winning here and putting them like well above that point is going to give them like a cushion of safety for a couple of weeks, which I think is really helpful.
for sure. It's the classic sentence we say a lot of: every point counts, but it's true. In the end of the season, so many teams end up making it by 1 point. I want to ask Chicken and Donde, any of you have any comments you want to say? Anything left to talk about Defiance versus Not Justin before we hop into our final match of Gold Conference?
Yeah, I think that I mean, it is kind of tough to see some of these teams, not having the best start when on paper I think they would I would place them a lot higher than their current rankings are. I think it's has a lot to do with Gold Conference just being I'd say Gold Conference is a bit stacked compared to the other two.
Sure.
With like Agent Peas and Not Justin, both at 21 points. Both teams that I think have some really strong players on them. Along with
Sure.
I mean, even Clownstone Academy, doing pretty well right now. But I think like the fact that Pod People. I mean, the fact that they're in third and like Pod People and Defias are both ahead of them, I think a lot speaks to the strength of the conference as well.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Now, I'll bring us into the match from two teams that are tied at 21 points right now. We had Illidan's Death Knights facing against Fish. And I actually think this is such a weird pattern. We usually don't see this kind of these few points in a match. Tell me what happened here, Mojo.
Yeah, this match was just a lot of sweeps. There was only one match within the week that was not a sweep. So IDK did beat Fish 12 points to 9.
Wow.
Earl 3-0'd XRT in the 1. JR Juggerlaw 3-1'd Jester in the 2 seed. Jester got the only point in a loss of the whole
Wow.
week. Vampire Nighthawk from Fish did sweep Jespine in the 3. Raptor HS beat Steffi 3-0 again in the 4. And Mighty Biz lost to Fly in the 5. And it's so interesting. This is a huge win for Illidan's Death Knights because if I'm not mistaken, they got completely swept week 1.
Yeah, there was not a pretty week 1.
So this is like, even though still 2 of their players did get swept, right? Justbine and Mighty Biz got swept this week and are both 0-2. Like, the fact that they're still tied in points with everyone else, but like just to get a win for the week and get a couple players like with 1-1 on the board is huge for momentum, because if you lose 2 weeks in a row, especially with one of them being a sweep, it just feels so bad.
Yeah, especially when we're talking about this early. You really don't want to have the momentum that low in the first 2 matches unless you're going to go through some change of mindset or team change in some way to make it happen.
Yeah, so they can come out of this week with their heads held high, right? Because even though they have 21 points like the rest of the bottom of the conference, they're the only team with 21 points and a win.
True.
Which is not important standings wise, but can feel important for a team.
And it is also a tie criteria.
True.
Now, Donda, do you want to tell us a little bit about your thoughts on Illidan's Death Knights versus Fish?
Yeah, just one thing I wanted to build on what was being said there is it certainly is a good feeling, at least in the team Discord, when you do get that win. So that difference between the 1-1 and the 0-2, even with the same points, can be massive just for morale purposes. So I completely agree with that. Just looking at the lineup, or not the lineups here, at the matchups here, Justmine falling 0-3, Vampire Nighthawk, great player, but I'm seeing Justmine in like the top 50 on ladder right now. So I'm surprised that they're at 0-2 at the moment. So a little bit shocking there, but I think that's a good sign for Illidan's Death Knights that they will be on the rise when Justmine starts to get their THL act together, so to speak. Not that I'm
Fair?
saying that as like a you better get going or this team's going to be bad, but like this is something that I think that JR would have expected, and Earl is holding it down at that 1-1 spot. That's a big win in the 1 seed there for Earl, with a not only that, with a sweep over a well-known grinder, tournament grinder in SR there, and that's just one of the bigger wins of the week to me.
That's true. I think this is a really strong result for IDK, and really, when you have these many teams at 21, you don't want to be the team at 16. You want to be at least equal to everyone and not already started the season looking from behind. Does anyone else have any final points they want to share about Gold Conference or IDK versus Fish before we move into Red Conference? All right. Um, we're going to hop right into Red Conference. To tell us what is going on in Red Conference, we have Mojo Powell talk about the standings. What happened from last week?
Yeah, well, Red Conference is actually my conference, which is exciting. At first place, we have F2L White with 37 points, immediately followed by IF2L with 35 points. I believe some of those points are from this week. I'm not sure, but those are the same. They do have 35 points. Just Win, 34 points. Dad Legend, 32. So, like, those first 4 places are really close. And then there's a tiny little bit of a drop, but not much. Serenite Pain Gang is down at 27 points. MUH Hearthstone is at 23. Everyone's a winner, 23 points. And Chaos Theory, also 23 points.
So we see again this clustering effect on the final teams that I think is fascinating. But this is fifth place is not together with everyone else, so there's a little bit more variation.
Yeah, and this one's even weirder because a lot of the teams at the bottom, there's a lot of teams throughout that are 1-1, right? IF2L's in second and is 1-1.
Yeah.
Dad Legend is in fourth, they're 1-1. And Serenite Pain Gang is 0-2 and is in sixth. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fifth, sorry.
And now I'll bring us into our first match. We actually had the first and second place of the conference face in week 2. And to tell us about that match, Donde is going to give us a quick recap of what happened.
Sure will. A very, very close match here between F2L and IF2L. 14-13 for F2L. There's got to be an easier way for me to differentiate between these two
Right?
teams.
We
So
really couldn't find one.
We're going to go with the white instead, and IF2L will be their own thing. So the white squad ended up getting wins from Rebob, Anfall, and Totino's Pizza. All go to 2-0 in the season, and all well, the first two won 3-2. Totino's won 3-1 over Judo Chop in the 5 seed. Meanwhile, the wins for IF2L were Bruto and Y the Hunter. Bruto also now 2-0. So you got 4 players out of the 10 here are undefeated. Obviously, that is almost the maximum when you have a team that plays each other that can still be undefeated because somebody's got to win in these matchups. But I guess what I'm most shocked by is looking at my Endodon sitting at 0-2 right now in that 1 seed. Well, he'll be a 2 next week as Rebob ascends into the 1 throne as he will captain from the front now. But F2L and F2L, this could be a potential like championship caliber match right here. This could be something that we see if they don't make the finals together, certainly somewhere in the playoffs. And I think the score just shows what type of quality matches that were across the board. No sweeps, multiple 3-2s, just a very, very entertaining match. One we expect out of the top teams in Legacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the kind of match that just one single difference would have probably flipped the result. Like 1 point would have been a tie, which is always so crazy whenever we see one of these. Now I'll ask Wild9, do you have any thoughts on F2L White versus IF2L?
Yeah, one thing to notice too is that they're approaching overall their strategy, I guess, to their team compositions are kind of completely opposite, right? Like you have F2L going with the 2 550s and the 1 and 2 seeds, and then F2L White going with kind of like the stronger 4 and 5 seed play, right? Where
Sure.
they don't have anyone who's at 550. So it's interesting to see, like, and even when they match up against each other, like it's kind of interesting there because it becomes like this crucial matchup of needing to win, like F2L needing to win 1 and 2 and F2L White needing to win 4 and 5. Like that's kind of how your team composition is, created, right? And so it's just interesting to see how it plays out. But yeah, definitely super close. Yeah, we'll see how it goes, I guess, the rest of the season for both teams.
For sure. Anyone wants to share any more thoughts on F2L White versus IF2L?
Yeah, I just want to say to Wildman's point, like with team compositions like that for F2L White's team, right, that they're supposed to win in the 4 and 5, you expect losses in the 1 and the 2 sometimes because your players aren't at 550. And when you can get like huge wins like Reed Bobson has been having in the 2 seed, like 2-0 in the 2 seed as a non 550 player is huge,
Yeah.
and like that's why they're winning so much. When you can get a team with high like high PR low seeds and a lower PR like 1 or 2 seed that's still winning, that's going to put you on a streak.
Yeah, that's true. Especially when you're winning against players like Magnificent, who are 550 PRs. Any final thoughts on this match before we hop into our next Legacy Red match? All right. Now, there's one result that we really like when it happens, and those are ties. So, to tell us about the first tie of Legacy Red, we have Super Chicken going over Team Just Win versus Everyone's a Winner.
Yeah, so I mean, pretty crazy result here between these two teams. Just Win having a pretty big week one, and then coming into this week, always just in time, still struggling to find his first win in this legacy season.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Infinite also dropping a win this week. Wild Rose dropping as well. Um, then in the 4 and 5 seed, Pokemon won over Anubinator, and Skirt won over Tom Carter in what I guess is an early candidate for BGH. Because Skirt is for some reason an 82 PR 5 seed in Legacy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. I think I definitely would have picked Justin to, or always just in time, I guess to be specific, to take it over Yo Daddy. Along with
Mm-hmm.
probably, I think like I probably would have picked a 4-1 for Just Win.
Yeah.
Um, Going into this, especially Infinite and Always Just in Time have been really grinding the game lately. They've
Yes.
been both top 100 players. Infinite, I think, getting like pretty high into the ladder rankings. Like into the maybe into the top 10 last month.
Mm-hmm.
So they've both been grinding really hard, and they're excellent players. So to see them go down, definitely speaks to probably how well Yo Daddy and Jordan MG prep for their matches.
True.
Being so much lower in PR. I guess Jordan MG also having a BGH candidate game right there. Being almost 200 PR below Infinite there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, Mojo, do you want to tell us your thoughts on Just Win versus Everyone's a Winner?
Yeah, ties are just super interesting because there's so few ways it can happen.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's really interesting, and what this does to the overall standings in red is super cool too, because Just Win, like just having a win like that and not having a loss puts them so far above most of the rest of the pack. They're like 10
Yeah.
points above the bottom 3 teams.
Yeah.
Which is like honestly can be hard to come back from.
True.
So I think that even though um it's a tie, like even though Just Win doesn't win the week, I think it was really beneficial for them in the standings.
I agree. I agree. I think something to look for is Everyone's a Winner is a powerhouse Wild team, and I know they practice a lot in Wild. So if they can keep doing that for Standard, that would be a really interesting result because practice has had great records in THL. So I believe that is it for us for Legacy Red. Anyone has any comments on Legacy Red before we hop into Legacy Silver?
Just
I
want to say that.
guess.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry. Go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. My comment's short. I'm just going to say that the conference is the closest, right? I think out of all the conferences and all the leagues and series that we have, right? Like this is the
Yeah.
closest from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just noticed that I guess everyone's a winner is a team where kind of what Mojo Powell was talking about F2L White, where your 1 and 2 seeds aren't super high PR'd, and you kind of have stacked all the PR into your bottom seeds. But it was kind of the reverse that happened with their matches this week, where
True,
the top 3 seeds actually took the wins, and their bottom 2 seeds fell in their matches.
true. It's just team construction is so hard. One of these days I'll get into writing a blog post about team construction because I think that would be fascinating. But it's also really hard, and I still don't know how to do it well. I'm sure Donde has a lot of thoughts on that as well, just from being around and having built quite a few teams. It takes a lot of work to master.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting conversation to have because there are so many different you know philosophies out there on what's the best way to construct a team. I tend to be the type of captain to stick with my team. PR based
Yeah,
teams. If you've got players that work and they like playing together, and the PRs continue to work, then you stick with them. But some people like to shake it up and really go for the most busted PRs they can. So I guess what I would say is that a lot of the time for me, I look at the players more than the PR. If the PR fits, that's all I really care about. But if you're leaving under 150 PR on the table, it doesn't mean you're a bad team. It just means that
true.
you have room to grow and a team that could stay together for 2 or 3 seasons, which has its advantages too.
You could
For
only
sure.
say this because you absolutely stomped this week.
Well,
I mean, I can say that whenever I want. It just has a little bit different connotation.
now, to talk literally about that, why don't Super Chicken go over, or why doesn't Super Chicken go over the Silver Conference standings?
Yeah, for sure. So in Silver Conference, we have a tie for first place actually between Hot Zylfs and Hearthstone Academy. Both teams having a pretty strong start this season. And after that, there's a pretty big drop off to third, with All Points Matter having, I guess, 30 points through their first 2 weeks, with getting one in week 3 here. The Cooler with 29, Dirty Mike and the boys with, I guess, 23 through their first 2 weeks. Standard THL Degenerates with 20, The Cult with 19, and Golden Wisps with 17.
hmm Yeah, here we see the final team farther than the other ones, and just a bit of a gap starting already. And to tell us literally about the match that made that happen, Mojo, why don't you go over DMB versus the Golden Wisps?
Yeah, totally. Dirty Mike and the boys beat the Golden Wisps this week. It's unfortunate the Golden Wisps are not quite having the performance in Legacy that they're having in Hero, as we kind of touched on a little bit earlier. But DMB won 14-11. Sabretooth took the win over Always Lethal in the 1. Astral Frog also won in the 2 over Mick, which is another kind of big game hunter match. Not quite as much as some of the other ones we've talked about, but that's a decent win. MPV wins in the 3 for Golden Wisps, as well as Thalfix beat Tony Montana in the 4, and Lefty, team captain for Dirty Mike and the boys, beat Roadrunner in the 5.
Nice. Interesting. Dirty Mike's and the Boys is literally the example of the team that sticks together to me. That and the Stubs. Just a lot of these players have been playing together for quite a long time and are still performing. Chicken, any thoughts on DMB versus the Golden Wisps?
Yeah, we kind of touched on it a little bit before the show started, that the Golden Wisps have been really struggling in Legacy compared to their Hero season, which has been doing really well. They're actually first across all Hero teams. And that is, I guess, a little bit because of the difference in composition, where you have Always Lethal on the 1 here as opposed to the 2 in Hero, with Aquaman being the 1 seed in Hero. So it definitely,
Mm-hmm.
changes the dynamic a little bit with the seeding. But I
Sure.
do think, Always Lethal is definitely able to hold his own in the 1 seed. Same with Mick in the 2,
Yeah.
and then the rest of the team is pretty similar. MPV doing really well in the 3 seed here, getting the 3-0 sweep over make it. Yeah,
Mm,
I think Golden Wisps will definitely bounce back. Um,
yeah,
after their slow start, they're a team with just like I think they're just filled with talent.
for sure.
Even going up and down the lineup all the way, like down to Roadrunner in the 5, he had, like, an insane, season in, I think, Hero it was? Like,
Mm-hmm.
um, being one of the best 5 seeds in Hero last season. So I think like, everyone's gonna really hit their stride at some point in the season, and I would probably pick Golden Wisps to make playoffs.
Nice. I think this is. They just had so much potential last season. It's hard not to think of them as one of the hottest teams still. So I'm curious to see where the Golden Wisps are going. Does anyone have any final thoughts to share on DMB versus the Golden Wisps?
I think the scariest thing if you're the Golden Wisps is just that they have a pretty like it's the points, right? It's not just that they've lost the first 2 weeks, but getting
Yeah,
17 over the first 2 weeks, so week 1 was particularly rough. I think that's where it's like tough, even though it is only week 2, you still got a lot of time. You just gotta you can't because Hearthstone, like
yeah,
sometimes everyone just loses like on a given week, like there's nothing you could have
fair,
done. So it's just like one of those things where it's like, man, like you just can't get too unlucky from here on out either. You have to play your best, of course, but you just really can't have a big stumble the rest of the way if you really want to make playoffs.
fair, fair. Now, speaking of making playoffs, I want to ask Donda here: are the Zylfs back after their break season?
I mean, we never left, man. I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. This is a bit of a new look team though, because some of these players are brand new to the team, and Coles is returning from his dad break. So
Sure.
there's I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we're back. Definitely the first few weeks of the season have been encouraging, as you can see here, 20-5 win over the standard THL Degenerates. All 5 players getting wins. Coles over Mr. Python, Vino Spumoni over Dr. Bomb D, yours truly over Electric Sheep City, Chronic over Boozosaurus, and Jim Phillips over Jerry Damage. Standard DHL Degenerates did put up some points in 4 of the 5 matches, but only getting 5 points is a rough go in the early going here in this season. But these 3 conference seasons, I think the playoffs creep up on you awful quick. So jumping out to
Yeah.
an early 40 plus points here, which is, I think it's just the 2 teams you see at the top here, Zylfs, Hearthstone Academy, and also Pod People that we saw earlier in that boat right now. It's all a fantastic claim to a potential playoff spot down the line.
I'll ask Wild9 here. Any thoughts on this one?
I think, yeah, I mean, it's honestly pretty surprising. Like, this is kind of what I was alluding to just now when I was saying, like, any given week, everyone could just lose. Like, I don't, I mean, Zilf's winning isn't that necessarily surprising, but I think they match up really well against standard THL Degenerates.
Sure.
I think it's pretty surprising that it's a sweep. Um, and like most of these are 3-1 or like 3-0, right? Only in the 5 do you have a 3-2. So I don't know
Yeah.
what, it could be just, bad draw, bad luck. Like when I look at every single of these matchups, I think, yeah, like these are all like very winnable for STD essentially. Like, and so just didn't fall their way, I guess, right?
Sure.
But I fully expect them to bounce back as well. Like I think that this is still a really good lineup from top to bottom. So
Mm-hmm. For sure.
and therefore a huge win for Hot Zills, right? Because anytime you're against a team that does match up really well and you sweep them, like that's massive, right? It's massive.
True. I'm looking forward to seeing the Zylfs performance in Legacy Silver and in the whole series. We'll see how that goes for them this season. Are they going to repeat what they did 2 seasons ago?
Hopefully. I mean, the 3 players who are 2-0 right now are all the players that weren't on the team last season. So.
True.
Shout out to Cole's the best 1 seed in THL that does not never hit legend. Always like to bring that up because no one believes it, but it is 100% true.
Yeah.
He even had a 12-game win streak on ladder last season, still didn't hit legend. So that's
Oh
how it is.
wow. He actually played enough ladder to have a 12-win
Yes, the
streak.
fact that he played 12 games is actually the shocking part. I'm glad that you know that.
Yeah, no, I think Coles has been in my friend list for a very long time, and I don't think I've seen him play at all. Like, it's very rare
No.
that he's around other than for THL matches.
Yeah, a lot of his recent play has been quest clearing. He's been playing a little bit more now that his son is a little bit older and not not brand newborn, so it's a little bit more flexibility for him, which is great because it gives him more prep time for THL matches. As far as he's played a bunch of different decks. He's always got good lineup options. He's always a good prepper, but just the experience is something that you can't really you can't necessarily make up for it just by
Sure.
by talking it out. You got to play. You got to get a feel for the matchups. Vino's playing in 3 series as well and doing very well. Chronic, normally a hero specialist, we brought him over just on a whim, just being like, hey, we've been talking about playing together for a while. It's never happened. Let's just make it happen this season. So
Yeah,
so it's coming together well, and I hope it continues.
that's awesome.
It's this season overall in Legacy is to the credit of your argument for like a team that carries over from season to season, because 2 of the best teams in Legacy right now are Hot Zylfs and the Pod People.
Yeah.
Right, who are like probably 2 of the standards for that type of team, even if like 3 of your players are new. Coles isn't really new.
No.
And it's the same with the Pod People, right? They've replaced a couple people, but the core of the team remains the same, like season to season, and those are 2 of maybe the best teams in Legacy. So
Yeah. Now, I'll bring us back to the main screen so we can talk our quick ad. And to talk about our ad, I'll bring Donde back of retirement straight into doing our Twitch Prime ad for the night. If you want to use Ron's super quick notes, you can. If you want to go freestyle, go for it. This is a surprise that I'm sure you didn't know I was going to do this.
I actually did have kind of a hint that you might do it to me, but I am definitely rusty, so I will go with Ron's ad read here.
Sure.
So hey there, Twitch viewers, have you subscribed to Team Hearth League yet? Yes, it's a league now, not Legends anymore, though you're all legends in my heart. Then make today the day to be a legend yourself and subscribe to our channel. The subscription enables the THL team to help cover the various costs of operating our website, as well as improve the quality of our streams and content to our viewers. If you have Amazon Prime / Twitch Prime, you can sub to the channel for free. Subscribers will get a THL emoticon as well as a lovely THL chat badge. So hit that heart button, keep the notifications on to make sure you catch our team broadcasting live. We appreciate each and every one of you. Special note to our viewers, check out THL's other social media points of interest, teamhearthleague.com. Follow us on Twitter at THL_HS. It's usually saying mean things about me, and that's Mako 100% of the time.
Yeah.
If you're not in our Discord yet, for whatever reason, hop on over to Team Hearth League in Discord and check out the THL POW podcast for power rankings for all series. Wherever you find your podcast, it's also on the aforementioned website's front page. The true Hearth legend himself, Saku, continues to post all of our videos on our YouTube channel. Just search for Team Hearth League to catch everything previously recorded. And of course, you're watching us on our Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/Team Hearth League, or possibly on our YouTube channel in the future. And for all of you THL fanatics out there are THL shows every single day of the week, so you can't go wrong tuning in at any time for some amazing Hearthstone-related content.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the read. That was great, Donde. I didn't feel like you were rusty at all.
Well, luckily, I still read all the time, so I got that down. I can physically say words, which is a huge advantage.
True. All right. So after this great break, we're going to hop right into Pro, where a lot has happened in Pro. And Donnie, why don't you tell us what is going on in the Black Conference? What are the standings looking like? How much has it been changing? And what can we see in Black Conference here?
Yeah, Black Conference is it's not the one that all the kids are saying is free, but you'll see Clowns Reloaded right at the top there. Not surprising, at 41 points, a 2-0 record. They are a stacked team, but right behind them is Avenging Prophet Marabi at 39 points, the APM of the Pro Series. They're 2-0 right now, F2L. 2-0 with slightly fewer points at 33. And the Mr. Smite side on bye this week, thankfully, after the drubbing we took this past week. we'll lick our wounds. But we got 24 points, so we're still hanging in there right now. And you can see that AOS is sky high. Faction, everyone's a winner. They're both right outside of that top 4 at 23 and 22 points respectively without a win. Then Sheepies 0-2 with 16 points. Mancrick's Multiple Wives coming off that week 1 bye, and they are 1-0 right now with 13 points, as is, well, Tagger's also only 1 week played at 8 points. So the bottom of the conference there, a little bit, hard to judge right now because of the only 1 week being played. So this is a lot more clustered than it would appear. Though I will say Clowns Reloaded being at 41 points at the top is absolutely not unexpected. And if you look at their team, which, spoiler alert, you'll see them when we discuss it very shortly, there should be no surprise as to why they're sitting up top there.
Yeah, this team is scary. I did decide to save you from talking about it, Donde, because I think there's no use just rehashing old wounds. So, Chicken, why don't you tell us about the Clowns Reloaded facing the team that I consider the best team name for the season, Mr. Smiteside?
Yeah, unfortunately, the team name does not give any points, unfortunately, for Mr. Smite's side. And also, unfortunately for them, they had to play the Clowns this week, who are just pretty much going to destroy every team that is unfortunate enough to play them in that week. With everyone except for Bank Yugi getting a win in their match. Although Bank Yugi's match was a 3-2 against Clark. Yeah, I think the Clowns are just a cut above most of the other teams in Black Conference. I mean, APM is close to them in the standings, but I would definitely expect the Clowns to beat them when that match comes up. Yeah, it's just an absurdly stacked team, even for pro.
Yeah,
I'm even surprised to see Bank Yugi like lose his initial match.
they have 3 GMs in the same team, which is quite a lot.
And
Yeah.
2 GM caliber players that are not GMs.
Yeah. Donde, I'll ask you to comment on this match. Since you weren't the first one to talk about it, any thoughts you want to say, anything about your team? How did it feel to play Pascoa?
This is actually the second time we've played. I played against him last season too.
Oh,
And
true.
the result was unfortunately the same then as it is now. It's one of those, like, you when you're playing against someone of that caliber in a match, it just you feel like everything you do has to be on point. Every line you take has to be the right read, but at the same time, uh, you know that they are seeing things that you might not be seeing,
Sure.
just because of how much time and how much prep and practice they put into. I mean, for someone like Pasco, he hasn't had a chance to play in the GM yet, but now anybody like Kalis and Thank Yugi, they're gonna have experience far more situations than the average Hearthstone player will, and just the amount of time they put in, it shows when you play against them. And I want to be mad that they did so well against us, but they're all nice dudes, so it's hard to really be too mad at them. But I will say I want to give a shout out to Vampire Nighthawk, who did e-sub for us and picked up 2 points, and it was like a, hey, can you play like right this second e-sub, which is just super cool of him to do that. And just any points at all in a situation like that is extremely appreciated.
For sure. And all points help. It may look like a lot, but assuming that Clowns Reloaded is the team that everyone's saying they're already in playoffs, you still have significant competition for the second, third, and fourth slot there.
Oh yeah, there's definitely plenty of room up for grabs, and I'm sure a lot of us who are vying for those playoff spots that are not the Clowns are going to just sit there and hope that the Clowns take a loss from the early rounds of the playoffs, so we don't have to play them again. And that might be our best bet, because this team is extremely scary.
Sure. On paper, I think that Clowns would be my submission for the strongest pro team ever.
Mm-hmm. I would 100% agree with that.
I think you have to separate pro team from rest of THL team, because the top 10 THL teams ever are probably all pro teams.
Yeah, that's probably true.
But it's the Clowns.
I mean, this is legitimately like a 2750 PR team.
Yeah.
Like they are a max PR. Every player is completely maxed on this team.
Yeah, I would even go further and say it's way above that if you remove the 550 cap, but yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, Neji alone is pushing 4 digits almost. So yeah,
Yes.
and not a GM.
Nope, not a GM. Now, taking a look at our other match from Black Conference, we have Wild9 to tell us about what happened in F2L versus Everyone is a Winner.
All right. I actually don't see that in the show notes though.
Oh, it wasn't my original notes. I don't think it was in the Google Doc, but it
Got
is.
it.
I did put it on the screen.
Yeah, I see it on the screen now. Yes, so we have F2L in a close one against Everyone's a Winner. 14-13 is the final match score here. And we have the top two there, very close scores, a 3-2 wins for Everyone's a Winner in the 1 and 2 seed, with Memnarch over Berserk and Karatidom over Rabobson. And then in the 3 and 4, you have a sub getting the sweep. And if I believe correctly, the sub sweep was for the win, I think, or something. But that's a 3-0 sweep for Nice Shooter's Hour over Solo Jazz. QSNS 3-1 over Kurodin. And then in the 5 seed, Just Spine gets the win 3-2 over Marty B.
That's a really strong showing for F2L in a super tight match. Whenever we have a 14-13 because of a sweep in the end, with a team that actually won only 2 winning, is always so weird and shocking. Mojo, any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is a sort of... It feels a little rough for Everyone's a Winner, right? Because as you just said, they won 3 of the matches and they still lost the week. But it's one of those where you're like, you know what? On points, this week is totally fine. Like, that's a score you can win with. You're very okay losing with 13 points, and you can move out of this week with your heads held high. So
For sure. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's so clutch for Nice Jewish Owl, man, right?
Yeah.
Like needing a sweep to win, and getting you getting the team a 2-match win for the week, right? Is like crazy.
Yeah. Especially against Solo Jazz, who's no slouch either.
For sure.
Now, any final thoughts on Black Conference before we hop into Pink Conference?
This conference is the one that's the most lopsided, right? So, and
Yeah.
also like with pro, there are buys, so you can
Yes.
you can look at the PPW, right, a little bit, but still you're still getting a pretty large point differential there.
Yeah. I do want to remind everyone that whenever we show points, we are talking about PPW. We're not going to, or whenever we show the teams that are first, we're always going to look at the teams with a higher PPW and not the teams with necessarily the highest points because, well, if you had a bye, we don't want you to feel down because of that. With the exception of week 1 because we're not doing division by 0. I do not know how to do that. So, that being said, why don't we move into the Pink Conference? Chicken, I'm going to ask you, since you are in Pink, to tell us what happened in Pink this week.
Yeah, in Pink, we have Brushy Tuna continuing their winning ways at the top of Pink Conference with 37 points. We have No Pros here at 35, the Heat Shock team. We have Swagoy at 33, EUNA at 29 points. No Pros here at 26. Make Love Not Warcraft at 25. For the Boys at 18 points. Poem Locked and Loaded at 13, and Popeye's Spicy Chicken Sandwich surprisingly at the bottom with 12
How?
points. Oh, they've only played 1 week, but still they did only get 12 points in their 1 week that they played.
That's a team that I'm always so afraid of. Now, before we hop into this, I want to ask you, the general layout of Pink Conference is different from the others, as we can see there seems to be a few teams. There seem to be really 4 teams or 5 in PPW that are already trying to get away from the rest. Do you think that's the case? Do you think there's still time? What is your feeling here, Chicken?
Yeah, I mean, I think I guess there's a few teams that are a little bit ahead in points per week at the moment, but I could also see that changing very quickly. I think Pank is going to be a really really volatile conference,
Sure.
where where almost any team can take a win off of another team. Um, you
Mm-hmm.
know, like, Swigo is already off to a great start. I think they were definitely an underdog in Pink Conference going into the season.
Yeah,
So the fact that they've been able to do this well so far, I think just shows, yeah, like how competitive this conference is. And I think you really can't count any team out just yet.
for sure. Now, speaking of counting any team out yet, why don't why don't you tell us, Chicken, about wait, not you, Chicken. Sorry. Why don't doesn't Donde tell us about our first pink match? We have Brushy Tuna versus No Pros here.
Yeah, so Brushy Tuna moving to 2-0, as we mentioned at the top of the Pink Conference, by beating No Pros here 18-8, giving No Pros here their first loss of the season. This was 4 wins across the top 4 seeds for Brushy Tuna, with Ron getting a win over QAZ 1291. Lotus, you got a win over X Kume, and Arhat gets a win over your Mumked. McBanterface with the first win of the season for him over J Rich. So Baystink surprisingly falls to 0-2 against it. Well, not surprising to lose to Asian PWE, but just surprising in general that Baystink is 0-2, because that is not a very common occurrence. But it was a
No,
3-2,
it is
so very
not.
very close there. Yeah. So Brushy Tuna wins handily. Hard to speak right now. Handily, despite Baystink losing. So yeah, that's a scary proposition for everyone else in Pink Conference, but like we talked about, there's a lot of really good teams out there, so they definitely have to continue to stay on their toes and fight week in and week out. And No Pros here, I don't think the 8 points is representative of the quality of that team. PWE will have them in line and fighting for a playoff spot. They're one team that's a little bit lower in the PPW, as you mentioned, right now, but I think that they'll be an absolute factor here, and they've got the week bye right now to kind of maybe take a little break,
Yeah,
just kind of see how the meta develops here over the next week, and maybe put that to good use when they come back in week 4.
for sure. I will ask, uh, let's say Mojo here. Any thoughts on Brushy Tuna versus NPH that Donda has not mentioned yet?
No, I mean, Brushy Tuna's an insane team. It seems pretty clear that putting Ridiculous Hat on your team is the key to getting first place in your division so far. Seems true
True.
in both Pro and Legacy. And like, this is what happens when you have a lot of really consistent players. And also, it seems really clear that obviously I don't know about your guys' team prep, but like a lot of you guys are bringing all the same classes, or at least like 2, 3 of the same classes, which means that a lot of like prep and discussion is going on within the team. There's like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of team coordination there, which is clearly working out. So
Yeah. Um, I can say we talk quite a bit. I don't think we practice together, but we talk quite a bit as a team. It's fun. Ron is a very motivated captain in that sense that brings us to talk a lot, and I think all of us have been very chatty. At least last week we were all very chatty and just trying to help each other, trying to make sure we all figured out good lineups. So I'm happy to see this continuing to happen as the season unfurls. That said, I'll move us to our final match of the night, and we have Mojo telling us what happened with the other team that is unbearable to say the name, No Pros here, versus EU greater than NA. And I will one more time just complain to Hishak and Avi. I'm sure Avi is involved for giving us this team name.
yeah, No Pros here, not to be confused with No Pros here, did win the week over EU greater than NA with Heat Shock at 2-0, taking the win over Max VDP. Valdis did lose in the 2 to Micus. Ufric wins the 3 seed over Always Lethal. Bruto for EU greater than NA beat obviously in the 4, and CMAC wins the 5 seed over Y the Hunter. This is I think we talked a little bit earlier about like it can be good to have teams where you're never all losing together, right? This is what happens when you have a lot of people who are just always winning. Like Heat Shock and Ufric are really consistent, have won both their matches this season so far, so it doesn't matter if the ball is dropped a little bit in other courts because they always have a really consistent 1 and 3 seed. And if they can keep that up, their spot in second place is going to be really easy to hold on to.
Sure. Donde, any thoughts on no pros here versus a U greater than an A?
I have a big thought. It not necessarily related to this match. It's more related to the trolling of no pros here naming themselves that. And I would like to say that I feel I am in general one of the premier THL nicknamers. You can ask Marty D for that.
Sure.
You know, considering he didn't even play a match and already had a nickname. So I am going to hereby recommend that we refer to this no pros here as the slam poets from here on out, to differentiate
Oh, I
themselves,
like that.
because you know they like for pros, you know, it's supposed to be like somewhat, you know, flowery and progressive and have some sort of flow, whereas the slam poetry is just like, you know what, we have no pros, so let's go with slam poets from here on out.
I like it. Plus, slam poetry kind of makes me think of a shocking thing, so kind of matches with the team captain.
Definitely.
Any final thoughts anyone wants to share about this match before we finish talking about Pink? I think just a quick note I want to make here is Warlock. We haven't talked a lot about Warlock post nerf. I think Warlock had a high and then kind of fell into a place where it's mostly okay and it's not as dominant as some people expected it to be. And we see a team that fully went in on Warlock and just didn't seem to have paid off here.
Yeah, I think Handlock lines up well into certain decks, you know, notably it being really good against Thief Rogue. But other than that, it does really struggle in the meta. You know,
Yeah,
being like if you know, Rogue is obviously insanely popular right now. So if you're hedging for someone to bring Thief Rogue, it's pretty good. But you know, Poison Rogue is also a insanely strong deck right now. That's pretty popular in competitive play. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think if you just miss on the Thief Rogue, the Warlock's really gonna struggle.
sure,
And I don't see it getting brought nearly as much this week.
sure,
Yeah, and I totally agree with that completely. And I would say part of that reason, I think, is with Warlock naturally, you know, hand Warlock is going to use the quest and damage itself, and yes, there's healing, but there's so many more decks in the meta right now that have that, like, I can't necessarily OTK you from 30, but I certainly can burst you down from like a 12 to 18 range. So if you're Warlock and you're hanging out in that range and you didn't quite get all your heal spells, you didn't get your TAMs in to duplicate those spells, you might be just dead to something like a Smite from hand that's either buffed by a paladin or shadow step by a rogue. And those are the types of things that if you don't have a taunt in the way, you just lose. And
true,
you can't really execute your late game plan as Warlock where you really want to get to. So I think that's part of the downfall of Warlock right now as well.
sure. Now, that being said about Warlock, I'll bring us back into the main screen for some final words. First of all, I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you all for being here tonight. I had a lot of fun. You all were amazing. It's great to be here as always, and I'm giving you all already my very special thanks for joining me this Tuesday night. Now, I like checkout questions. I've been doing it ever since I've been in Hearthcenter as a host, and I think it's a fun opportunity for us to get a final debate in. And our checkout question for the night is: should there be nerfs soon? I know some people are really clamoring for nerfs, clamoring for change, and a lot of people are just saying the meta's pretty good right now, even if there's a class that's kind of dominant. And I won't say what it is, but I think it's pretty obvious that there's one class that's quite above everything else. So I'm going to start with Mojo here. Mojo, first of all, thank you so much for joining me tonight, or for joining us tonight. Always great to have you. And should there be nerfs soon?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's great to be here. I think can be. I think there should be. I think there should be. I don't think it's like super pressing. I think they could push it off for a little while and it would be totally fine. The meta is insanely healthy, right? Like almost every class that should be playable is playable, um, which means that every class that isn't priest is playable. And even clearly, some people think the priest is playable. I think that Scabs and maybe Cariel could be targets for nerfs. The hero cards
Sure.
haven't been touched much yet, and they're insanely strong. Scabs is obviously shaping the meta, so I would say that Scabs probably should be nerfed.
Sure. Strong points. Cabs is probably one of the strongest cards in the game right now. Um, I'll go with Wild9. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. One more time, it's been amazing having you. Now, Wild9, should there be nerfs soon?
Yeah, I think definitely you're going to nerf Rogue. Right now, Rogue in the top 1,000 of Legend is 30% of the field. Thief Rogue, just Thief Rogue. And then another like 9% is Poison Rogue. So I think you just have to do something with Rogue. Thief Rogue is kind of warping the meta because it's keeping, the only counter really is Quest Handlock. Everything else is either 50-50 or worse. And then Poison Rogue and Mizaki Mage are basically countering Warlock, right? So the meta is pretty warped, I think, in at least the highest part of Legend. So I don't
Sure.
know. Like I agree with Scabs. Like Scabs seems like the most obvious target because it's played in both, because it's good. I don't know if you might need more for the Thief Rogue because the other part of the Thief Rogue that's really bad is that it limits on-board play. Like it's really hard to get on board against Thief Rogue. And so you might need to nudge something more than just Scabs. But I do think, I'm sure Blizzard's
Sure.
probably looking at Scabs first, I imagine.
Fair. That's fair. Um, Chicken, I want to thank you a lot for being here tonight and for bringing your great comments. Um, Now, that said, I want to ask you, should there be nerfs soon?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, I definitely think we should have nerfs soon. Like if you if you just look at some of the archetype win rates in like top 1,000 legend, it's just like rogue decks are just like 2 to 3% above pretty much every other class deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of absurd. And yeah, I think Scabs is definitely the big offender there. I mean, the fact that he's so good that you can put a 7 mana card in Poison Rogue is kind of unreal.
Yeah.
Along with just being so flexible, and like the hero power afterwards is also insane. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
I also think, you know, I think they should at least change the card text on Null because it's kind of weird. Like it's like whenever you add a card to your hand, but it counts drawn cards, which is not like historically it hasn't meant adding cards to your hand. So I find that's been kind of weird. So either
Sure.
changing the mechanic on that or fixing the text. And I also think Mozaki Mage could be an issue. It's kind of held down a little bit by Poison Rogue and some Druid decks right now, but I also could see it definitely being
Yeah.
a problem post nerf. So I I don't even know what to nerf at this point with Mozaki Mage. Like Flow's been nerfed, Spring Water's been nerfed. Like maybe just Mozaki itself has to go up in mana a little bit.
Or just flow again.
Yeah, just nerf Flow to like 6 mana or something.
Yeah.
Uh,
Just
but yeah, I don't know. I think something with Mozaki Mage should be adjusted a little bit.
sure. That's a fair comment. Last but definitely not least, Donde, thank you so much for being here tonight. It's a blast. Really, we did this show just the two of us for a while. First it was just me, you, and Icon, and then we had I think it was 1 or 2 seasons where it was just the two of us, and then it grew again. So I just want to thank you for Hearthcenter, just for making the show what it is today, and for being here tonight. Very special thanks for being here tonight and for giving great insight, great comments as always. And my checkout question for you is: should there be nerfs soon?
I definitely appreciate the invite. It's nice to be back, and I'm happy to see the show continue to thrive and evolve without me. It's always fun to tune in, and I appreciate everything that you've put into it and everybody that's contributed to it as well over the past year. To answer your question, yeah, I think there probably should be nerfs. I mean, everybody's touched on it already at this point. The rogue is such a high pop on ladder at this point. Every class you play is potentially a rogue because you just don't
Yeah,
know until you get to turn 1 or 2 what's happening, and that's not a great feeling a lot of the time. Just to because so much of the game is the mulligan, and you can't really mulligan effectively for 2 decks, let alone 2 classes, a lot of the time, because your game plan is going to be so dramatically different. And I know that is
sure.
obviously a great draw of Maestra, but Thief Rogue right now feels like the Mulligan Simulator 2022, where you just really try to go for those super high win rate swingy cards, and if you get them, you have a potential to just blow your opponent out, which isn't fun for your opponent a lot of the time. It's fun for you because you're winning,
Yeah,
and that's great. But at the same time, it doesn't necessarily make for the healthiest. And I think the healthiest meta. But I think at the same time, I personally am enjoying the meta. I'm having fun playing on ladder. I don't think Thief Rogue is super oppressive, so maybe just like a little minor tweak to bring it back in line, and they should be good. And I think they've been doing such a good job lately with being proactive on the nerfs, and that's a good route to take. It's a digital game. You have the opportunity to adjust things more frequently than something
yeah,
like Paper Magic, so you should, and they're taking advantage of it. So I think they're doing good things.
for sure. I'll just note here: I hate Poison Rogue with a passion, and any meta where
Yes,
Poison Rogue is a very viable option to me is not good. It's just that deck should not exist. Um, it's just the worst.
you don't like ice block into vanish your entire board and then just stab you in the face to kill you.
No, I feel like, it's like Quest Rogue, but way worse to face, because you know they're going to win with just hitting you in the face, and there's nothing you can do, because they don't care about board, and they can
Nope.
3 turns time warp you to just keep hitting you in the face.
And the deck velocity is so high that they find those cards more often than you would want them to.
Yes.
Like it would be one thing if it was hard to get to those cards, like but with cutting class, silver leaf poison, like there's so many ways for the and secret passage, God forbid I forget secret passage. There's just
Yes.
so many ways for the rogue to find a billion cards on even any given turn that they're going to find what they need so often. And the second you see that cloak of shadows, or the second you see them doing a bunch of crap, and then all they have like 3 or 1 mana left in a like preps left in their deck, you're like, I know what's happening at the end of this turn, and that's just very
Yeah.
disheartening, like you said.
Yeah. It's like basically they made it have an OTK as well, and it's not good. But
That's
oh, go ahead.
that's why I think like Thief Rogue is kind of warping the meta, right? Because if it dominates all the board-based decks, then you don't have board-based decks in the meta, and then they can't counter things like Poison Rogue, right? Because
True.
Face Hunter is really bad against Thief Rogue, like Beast Druid, which is like some people have had success with at Top Legend, like that's like not going to be around if there's still Thief Rogue, right? Like some of these decks can keep Poison Rogue down, and so that I think would help with the overall meta too. Like it'd be less popular.
True. True. Um, that said, I believe that is it for us tonight. Um, I am going to thank one more time Super Chicken, Wild9, Mojo Powell, and Donde, and a special thanks to our viewers. Hopefully you had fun with us tonight. We do this for fun, and I hope you all enjoyed. Got to learn something about some of the cool THL players, and we will be back with more Hearthcenter next week, always on Tuesdays. There are shows happening. Tavern Talk is coming in tomorrow. There are match shows the whole week. I'm sure some have matches. If you want to play on stream, you can always DM me, DM Saku, DM Wild9, DM Fish, DM Donde, and we'll figure something out. There's always fun space for matches, and I'm going to I told Donde this. We were talking about this a bit ago. There will be a place in the Discord for people who want to just volunteer their matches. It might be easier than DMing, so you can just post there. I'll try to get to it tonight before I go to bed. But that said, I believe that is it for our show. Have a good night, everyone. Play your matches on stream if you can, and we will see you later.